Hello all my Kinvians, and welcome to episode 2 of Discovering DuckTales. Woo! I probably won't do that in the future, I apologize. Anyway, today, the episode I'm going to be watching is Daytrip of Doom. And they're probably not going to go this direction, but I can't help but wonder if we might get a Temple of Doom reference in this. I mean, there's all kinds of blank of Doom episodes, shows, movies. Well, maybe not so much movies, but regardless. A lot of things that come up using that motif. But if they do actually throw in a Temple of Doom reference, I will be very giddy. I'll probably be giddy anyway. But regardless, let's get right into it. I'm really excited to finally be getting further into this show. Continuing with this show. And let's get right into it. So, Daytrip of Doom, Season 1, Episode 2 of the DuckTales reboot. In 3, 2, 1, go!
Good morning, you gleaming bit of bounty.
Good morning, David Tennant. Hello.
Weekly? You said traps? It's just a game!
If you're not a player, you're a pawn.
Well, maybe turn it down a notch.
Tell that to my menu cat!
Ew.
Rule 58. If you need something, ask for permission first. Rule number 23. No one is above the rules, Donald. We could have avoided what I'm referring to. Nice, safe, now.
Oh, how about Sacky Sack?
Does it explode? Oh my god!
Or...
Donald? How is he not dead?
Look, a dog!
The joy of personal space.
That's a faster run! Race ya!
Wrong way.
What?
There a problem here?
Oh god, no! Oh no. Oh no. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god!
They gonna ransom us? Scrooge will never pay for all four of us.
Oh, you're right. They'll probably throw one of us off a cliff to send Scrooge a message. I'm gonna break every bone in her body.
Oh god!
Or maybe just tie her up. We'll see how it plays out.
Beagle Boys are smoked quite large. I'll take the big one and Donald?
Oh god! Oh dear god!
What do you do next? I don't know. Webby, what do you want to play?
Really? You mean it?
Any crazy thing you want?
Oh, how about a nice game of Medieval Dungeon of Eternal Screaming?
No.
I'm on Webby's team.
Okay. Oh my god. This freaking show, man. This freaking show. Well, first of all, I'm just gonna say this. I have nothing negative about this episode. Nothing. Like, there are no annoyances. At all. Like, the only thing that might approach it at all is the fact that because of my nostalgia for the old original show, it's hard for me to get used to the Beagle Boys and Ma Beagle's voice. But even with Mrs. Beakley, like, I'm used to her voice now. But yeah, it's like, annoyance-wise, that's the only thing that comes close, and it's because of my own personal childhood bias. But again, I'll get over that, especially next time we get around to the next episode. Or the next time they appear, rather. So, Daytrip of Doom. Let's get right into it and talk about some of my favorite parts. First of all, the Wargames. That was an amazing sequence. And honestly, just Scrooge's response to all of it was amazing. When Dewey's like yells something at, I guess it was Huey or Louie, as he's shooting, Scrooge is just like, you don't yell at your target. That gives away, or that throws away the element of surprise. And so he's just loving it. He's absolutely loving it. And I love that too. And the fact that the straw that broke the camel's back, or maybe the duck camel, I'm not sure at this point what all animals do or do not exist in the world of Duckburg, or in the world of DuckTales. But, the fact that it was Donald using his washroom. I kind of saw something like that coming, but honest to God, how did Donald make that much of a mess? Just taking a bath. How? How is it possible? Actually, I probably know a few people who would do about the same, so maybe that's a dumb question. Anyway. The Wargames, phenomenal. And then that brings us to, for the rest of the episode, unfortunately Scrooge is kind of, he's very much in the background. Like, it's like he got annoyed about Donald using his washroom, and that really just kind of set up the rest of the episode, because for the rest of it, Scrooge is just not there, or he's taking a bath. Which I will say, like, the whole, it's like, you know, something is wrong. And, like, replacing the cucumbers in the bathwater with gold coins. Interesting way to go about it. But that did set up, maybe that's one annoyance, one actual annoyance with the episode. The fact that Scrooge just really wasn't there. And, I don't know, I guess with that being the second episode in the season, that did feel a little bit weird. I don't know. Hopefully the upcoming episodes will be different, and it's like, and there will be more Scrooge involved. But the fact that it focused more on the kids than anything, I'm not opposed to. I mean, it's Scrooge McDuck. It's friggin' Scrooge McDuck. It's DuckTales. He needs to be a, you know, at least, if not a central part of the episode, just more there than he was. So yeah, again, I guess that's my one annoyance with this episode. Okay, so Donald versus Beagle. That whole section with them just not even really fighting back and forth so much as just Donald being a friggin' idiot. And Beagle getting it. Well, okay, so it was a little bit back and forth. But most of it was just Donald being a friggin' idiot. I don't know how much of it was him just sort of lashing out at the fact that Beagle was enforcing these rules upon him. But yeah, it was interesting and hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I don't know how the boat's still there, to be honest. If he managed to pour that much gasoline in the pool that it caught on fire, how that boat is still there, I have no idea. But it is, because it's a cartoon. But yeah, just that entire segment with those two was magic, as was the vast majority, if not the entirety of this episode. And then on the way to Funso's, and really Funso is a great thing about this episode in and of itself, but possibly the best element leading up to it, at the very least, was the bus. And the book that the one girl was reading really encapsulated the entire segment. It was The Joy of Personal Space. And Webby, Duck Lover Heart, yes, I said Duck Lover Heart instead of God Lover Heart, but she has no sense of personal space. None. And again, it's because all of this is brand new to her and she's super excited. And yes, I also would have been just like, oh my god, it's a doggy with a bow tie. But she has no concept of personal space when it comes to those things. And it was just a great little segment. The fact that they got kicked off and then end up in a seedy part of town where a rat has spray painted flatulence on the wall. This show is so weird and I love it so much. And then the introduction of the Beagle Boys and Ma Beagle. Or Ma Beagle. I keep wanting to say Beagle for some reason. I guess maybe it's just because they're relatively similar words. But anyway, the Beagle family. Again, the voices take a little bit of getting used to, but yeah, the Beagle Boys are just as... I mean, they were kind of a threat in the original series, and there would be moments where they were an actual threat, but they were just as bumbling and dumb and hilarious villains in this episode as really as they ever were. So, I mean, my annoyance with my issue with the voices aside, I really liked them and I found it to be a really cool introduction. Ma Beagle is ugly though. I mean, she was ugly in the original show, just kind of being a, female-ish version of the Beagle Boys, but yeah, going full on old Beagle-ish form was just weird. Oh, and while they were at Funso's, Uke or Puke. I don't know if there's another game that's similar to it in name or not. I mean, it was clearly emulating a bunch of those different rhythm games, primarily of which being Guitar Hero and to a degree Dance Dance Revolution. But Guitar Hero being the primary one, I can't help but wonder if there's another Japanese game that it's based off of. Because there's so many weird arcade games out there that come from Japan. It's hard to say. I mean, if there is actually a game out there in arcades in Japan called what do they call it in Steven Universe? Meat Beat or Beat Meat? Beat Your Meat? Whatever it is. I wouldn't doubt it. I would not question that if someone told me that was an actual thing. I would look it up, but I would probably still believe them until I found out for sure, not whether it existed. But yeah, Uke or Puke, that was an interesting one. And then as we approach the end of the episode, we get some of the just more heartfelt moments that really worked for this episode and really brought it together. So, Webby's been having an issue trying to be normal this entire time, and it has made the boys, a bit inconvenienced. And to be completely honest, Louie's kind of a jerk. Saying that right there while Webby is standing next to him. It's I told you we shouldn't have brought her along. It's... Again, I know it's, there for the importance of it, but I do wish they had at least had Louie apologize about saying that, just in my opinion. Maybe it was sort of implied when, after they're tied up and Webby says she was trying to be normal, and I can't remember which boy said it, but normal's overrated. We want you to be Webby normal. So I guess maybe it was sort of implied in them saying that. But still, I wish that Louie, that is the one with the green, I believe. Yes. So I wish they had him actually apologize to Webby for saying that, all things considered. But yeah. And, everything that happens with Webby afterward, it's like the Wargames, but against Ma Beagle. And then we're introduced to the first time that Donald's rage has ever been truly useful, I think, in any cartoon I've ever seen him in, because usually whenever he goes into a rage, he messes things up. It's like things get broken that shouldn't be broken. But it's like what I thought was we were about to see like Donald be kind of beat up, or maybe try to hold his own with one of the Beagle Boys, and then Mrs. Beakley like just one punch man the bigger guy. But no, what we see is basically Donald kind of hulking out in a way, just going into this pure psychotic rage mode and just like spinning around and beating the crap out of the two Beagle Boys. It was, I'm interested to see more of that. If that's what Donald's rage can do when focused, I'm interested to see how they might use that in the future against, whatever baddies may appear. And if there's someone who can actually, like, when Donald is raging, if they can stop him. Like, that would be probably a pretty friggin' scary moment, to be honest. But then finally, that brings us to the end. It's like, when things are calming down and, Donald's just like, for a housekeeper, how do you know so much about, like, taekwondo and electronics? Oh, that's simple. I'm a spy. And in a simple sentence, it explains so much about not only this incarnation of Mrs. Beakley, but also how Webby is. I mean, if she's been protecting her for a long time, she's undoubtedly been teaching Webby these things. Like, these aren't just things that Webby looked up, like things that Webby just kind of learned as she went along because she was bored. No, if Beakley is a spy, which I'm going to guess that was one of those, she was actually telling the truth, but it's meant to be kind of a joke thing, that, it would make sense for her to have Webby learn these things, and Webby's probably kind of taking after her spy grandma, or granny. So yeah, it was a really interesting moment, and just overall, oh my god. Again, I love this episode. I was wrong in the beginning. If I can remember, I'll put a caption at the beginning of the video where I say, it's like, I have no annoyances. Or the beginning of the review, rather. Because I do have the one annoyance that they're really, past the introduction, Scrooge just isn't really there. And I do appreciate the focus on the boys and Webby, but it's DuckTales. If you don't have at least somewhat of a focus on Scrooge, it feels off. Especially for this being just the second episode of the season. But I'm sure they're going to change it up as time goes on. Again, this is only the second episode, and I have a lot left to experience. And from the majority of people that I've heard from as far as this show goes, it's like, I have a lot of good things to look forward to. So, yay! But yeah, Daytrip of Doom. I unfortunately did not get a, Temple of Doom reference, as I kind of hoped. But, yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one. And I am very much ready to get into the next one, which, let's jump in and see what that next episode is going to be. So the next episode is The Great Dime Chase, I think. I just remembered. So, one thing that I was told about was apparently they aired these episodes out of order of their, like, actual production sequence. And the production sequence is when they were supposed to have come out. So, before watching the next episode, I'm going to reference the DuckTales wiki, because they do have, like, the proper order as far as production sequences go. So, it might be The Great Dime Chase, or it might not. I'll find out after I'm done recording here. So, everyone, please let me know your thoughts on this episode, Daytrip of Doom. Let me know your thoughts on what I've had to say. Do you have any other annoyances with this episode besides what I said? Or do you feel like, my annoyance is irrelevant because it doesn't have to just focus on Scrooge? And you're right in that regard, but still, it's my annoyance. You don't have to be so mean. Anyway, until next time, everyone, for the next episode of Discovering DuckTales, I am Papa Ken. See you in the next episode.